Hey guys, so I decided to talk about continue my series of favorite characters, and I'm now going to talk about actually a female character this time, and that is Scarlett O'Hara from My Name of the Wind. This is actually my first copy of this book. My Lola gave me the copy she gave, which I've shown a couple times before in videos. Gave me that another copy that's a little older. It was a gift to my mom in 1974, so it's kind of old, and it matches the edition that my mom had of the book Scarlett, which is the sequel that was, I believe, written. It wasn't written by Margaret Mitchell. It was written years after she had died, and it's kind of a sequel about like how this book. Most people know how this book ends, where Scarlett realizes she is in love with Rhett, and she tries to talk to him and gain his forgiveness and all that, but he's like, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn, and just walks out. And it ends with her saying, she's crying and heartbroken and frustrated, and she's like, you know what, tomorrow is another day. I still, she's feeling pretty confident she can win him back. Well, the sequel is about her trying to do that. And she, in fact, goes to South Carolina, but when she is not successful and realizes that it won't be that easy, and there's even a little bit of competition for her from a woman that kind of reminds her of Melanie, but she starts to seem kind of a little not as nice and sweet as Melanie. She's a little more of a bitch, but of course it's from Scarlett's perspective. So she decides to go visit her family in Ireland in the book. So the first part of the book is spent in South Carolina, in Charleston. So actually, I have family there. My Lola lives there, and so do my mom's brothers. So my uncles and their families live there. So I've been there. So it was kind of cool reading about Charleston back in that time. I think it was still kind of like the 1800s. At the time, it was like right after the Civil War. So it was kind of cool to read about the Charleston of the past, knowing that I have gone there. I've stayed in Charleston multiple times. It's home away from home almost. But yeah, and I mean, despite the fact that I don't like reading a lot of novels where the central plot is the romance, I liked how that kind of gave Scarlett and Rhett a second chance. Like, it gave Scarlett a chance to redeem herself. That sequel. And I mean, this is a classic, and it's about the Civil War, so it's historical romance. And it's special. Like, I don't like the idea of reading the modern romances because they just get so boring to me. Because to be fair, before I decided that I didn't really like a lot of the romances, I had read, romances before. Like, I went through a period where I was always reading Nicholas Sparks. I was looking for his next book all the time, and maybe that's part of the problem, because he is very predictable, and his stories are very sweet and beautiful, but they just get so repetitive. You can almost guess what's going to happen. There's this joke in my family between me and my mom and my sister when we, talk about how if a character is gonna die if the character is gonna die in his book, in the next book. But anyway, okay, so I want to talk about Scarlett O'Hara and why I love this character. Because Scarlett is a bitch, and and like, my best friend is completely opposite of me. She has to be able to relate to the character completely, and the character, she has to see herself in the character, and I'm not like that. Like, I like characters that can be bitchy. And maybe I'm wrong about her, but that's always the impression I got from her. Like, it's hard, even though we both love reading, and we occasionally can read the same books, but most of the time, we have very different tastes in books. I'm more open to reading a variety of stuff. I have my limits, but I like variety in my reading. And Scarlett, I don't think Terry would like Scarlett. I don't think Scarlett would be one of her favorites. Granted, I don't even know if she would read a book like this. Look at this thing. This is like 1,024 pages. I think the book It is a lot longer. then this might be the longer one, so I guess that would be the longest book I've ever read, and this would be second place. Okay, so the thing about Scarlett is that the positive things about her is she knows what she wants. If she wants something, she'll go after it. She's not some little girl who waits for the man to come rescue her and do things for her. She will, and she will do what she has to get exactly what she wants, which kind of leads to some negatives about her, things I don't like, but things that make her character interesting, make her character very well rounded. That's one of the things I love about her character. Why I love her character so much. She is so rounded. She is a human being in a time where it was still very hard for women. And she is such a strong-minded woman. She knows what she wants, and she goes after it, one way or another. She also is very fiercely independent. She does not need, she loves, she's in love with Ashley and everything. And we know that she starts to fall in love with Rhett too. But she's also can do things on her own. She doesn't rely on men. She's not some damsel in distress. She's not some guy waiting for a guy to rescue her. If the guy won't come to her, she will come to him, or she will do what she has to survive without having to rely on a man. Which is, again, that leads to some negative aspects about her personality, but right now we're talking about the positives. And she can take care of herself. And when she did marry I think she married like two or three guys before she but she still was able, even though she got married and stuff, she didn't all of a sudden become the little housewife. She wasn't the little woman anymore. And of course back then at that time period that wasn't good, but for a modern reader that can seem like that shows that she is a strong woman. She is a strong, fierce woman. She is fiercely independent. She is also very passionate, which, again, is another thing that can be bad as well. She is romantic, she is very loving, and when she does get what she wants, she can, and she's very, actually, I think the passionate thing would be more of a negative with her character. As a reader, reading about this character, yes, and there are a lot of things about this being passionate that go in a bad direction for Scarlett, but her passion makes her a compelling, an interesting and compelling character. They make her interesting to read, and you feel her emotions, and you feel what she's feeling. You kind of feel what she's feeling. You have a bit of sympathy. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there are other readers that did not have any sympathy whatsoever for her. Because she is such, she is kind of a horrible person. She is also a very modern, before I get to that one, she is also a hard worker. She was the one who took over Frank's business his lumber business. She kind of helped run things around the store, and she was also and that's probably something to do with a little bit of the Irish blood in her, I think. And she goes after, and she can run the store. She does what she needs to get people to pay up. Like Frank, I vaguely remember him being very much not as aggressive, and she was a very aggressive businesswoman, which idealistically that's not, people probably wouldn't like that, but to get things done, get the business running, sometimes you have to be aggressive and assertive and being in people's face and get them, because sometimes people will con you out of making them pay. And she was not one to be conned. She was smart. And unfortunately, all these positives can also lead to negatives about her. But again, as I've said before, I'm focusing on the positives and how they are positive character traits. She is also a very modern woman. She's not, as I've said, with the whole fiercely independent. She also is a modern woman. She does not, she is strong, confident. She still acts very much like the women of that period, but she's also not some little little bird that will sit back and. Although, the thing about Melanie is completely opposite, but sometimes Melanie's strength is more eternal and Scarlett's is more external. Not, and I don't mean external as in physically stronger than Melanie. I mean external as she, again, like I've said, she is aggressive. She does what she does what's necessary, and she is a little bit more. She is definitely more emotional than Melanie, and Melanie is the strong, silent type. That's, you know. In fact, because when I first read the book, I did not like Melanie's character, but thinking about it now, I can see that she is a strong character, and she is a very likable character, even though she's kind of annoyingly sweet. And, you know, it's frustrating that she does not see that Scarlett is a bitch. At the same time, she is probably the only real friend that Scarlett has, which Rhett points out to her. You know, he points out to her in so many words that Melanie's all Scarlett has. She is the only friend Scarlett ever had. And unfortunately, if you know the story and everything, you know that unfortunately it's kind of tragic and sad that Scarlett does not does not realize this until the very end, until it's too late. So, but back to Scarlett's positive. She's a modern woman. She's strong. She doesn't need a man. Yes, she wants Ashley, and she kind of leans on Rhett a little bit, but she also could potentially take care of herself, I feel like. And there was something else that kind of goes with the knowing what she wants and being fiercely independent, and that's she is a survivor. She knows what she has to do to survive. She works hard, and like unlike her sisters who just sit back and are constantly complaining and let the servants take over. Scarlett will do the things that needs to be done. She will clean the house. She will take care of the house, provide the financial security they need, not just through finding a husband, but through, you know, like I said, she ends up getting a job at Frank's lumberyard. She ends up basically running the business while he's, you know, not really, I mean, he's still doing stuff, but she is doing a lot more to run his lumber business than he is, I feel like, from what I remember. So she does what she has to, and yes, unfortunately she marries quite a few guys, and that's part of how she survives, in a way, in a twisted and messed up kind of way, but still, I think. But it's also what leads to the goals that she wants, which is her main goal is to get Ashley. So, unfortunately, that's definitely more of a negative than a positive. Because she's willing to steal Ashley from Melanie if she has to, because she thinks she deserves Ashley, and she thinks her and Ashley make more sense than Melanie and Ashley, no matter what everyone keeps telling her. Like her father keeps telling her, I remember in the beginning, that her and Ashley are not from the same stock, essentially. They don't belong together. They don't mesh well together. Their personalities would clash, I feel like that's kind of what her dad is saying. That's kind of what I feel. I agree with him that her personality was totally clash and would not work, and that's why I like. I am total Rhett and Scarlett shipper. Because their relationship, despite the two of them are also kind of different, kind of opposites, but they work well together, which was the point, of course, of the story, is the two of them belong together. She's in love with Ashley, but she realizes too late that her and Ashley do not work together. They are good friends, and they have affection for each other, but they're not in love with each other. I mean, it's more like she deludes herself into thinking that she's in love with him. And I'm not saying that she's not, but it's not the kind of love that works. So, let me get to so the negatives. She is manipulative. Like I said, in the positive, she knows she does what she has to get what she wants, and knows what she wants. So she will manipulate. She manipulated Frank. I can't remember his last name. Frank, that guy who's going to marry one of her sisters. She stole her sister's bow so she could get closer to. So that because she knew, I'm trying to think why she chose to marry him. I think it was because of his business. I think because she knew he was financially secure and he had this business that she believed could really potentially thrive. So she decided, okay, I need to marry this guy because now I'm running the household because I am the oldest, So me being married to him would be, in her mind, that would be the smart decision. So she manipulates Frank. She also manipulates Melanie's brother Charles to get him to think, because he's all hung up on her and everything, and she's still heartbroken because she lost Ashley to Melanie. Melanie's getting ready to marry Ashley, and the war is going on. He's going to become a soldier, and Charles will not leave her alone. He tries to, woo Scarlett, and finally I think, because she's not really paying attention or not thinking clearly, she's like, okay, alright, fine, I'll marry you. It's just, because Charles is Melanie's brother, so it will mean she'll be closer to Ashley, and I think she's thinking that, the closer she is to Ashley, the more chance she has to get him back from Melanie. But, I mean, her thinking is not, her logic is, like, really, is kind of messed up. She is also very selfish. Like I said, she stole her sister's boyfriend. She takes for granted Melanie's love and loyalty for her. Melanie is so sweet and sees the good in Scarlett, but she does not see the bad. She doesn't see how horrible and manipulative and bitchy Scarlett really is. And Scarlett is so lucky to have Melanie, which Rhett points that out, and she doesn't see it. She's so focused on her own needs, her own desires, what she wants, she does not realize that she has such a good friend and like a sisterly friend in Melanie. So, I mean, she is willing to steal Ashley from Melanie, and they're married. So that would be like totally illegal. Because, I mean, essentially, Ashley would be cheating. But Melanie's such a good person and so naive that, and that Ashley probably would not get in much trouble. I mean, she would be heartbroken. Melanie would be heartbroken, but, the people that would get... Of course, she wouldn't be... The only people that would judge Scarlett, Melanie would probably... she would be pity Scarlett and be disappointed and heartbroken and would not understand, but the people that would be mean to Scarlett would be everybody else. Like, Melanie's family and all the townsfolk and everyone, and Rhett too, would probably be the only ones that would be judging her. And Melanie puts Scarlett on a pedestal. And, back to Scarlett, because she knows what she wants and she's independent, is a survivor, she does some very pretty selfish things to get what she wants and to survive. And manipulative things too. Like I said, a lot of the positive things about Scarlett can lead to negative. It depends on how you look at it. She's also very vain. I mean, she knows she's beautiful. She knows she knows that she's beautiful, and she knows that she can have any man that she wants. Like, she flirts in the beginning, in the first chapter, she's flirting with these two village boys. It's all like, she's got them wrapped around her little finger, and she knows it. And, she knows that she's got, them and Charles too. She knows that she's got Charles and Rhett, unfortunately, too. All their boys tied up in knots. Wrapped their hearts tied up in knots, and they're wrapped around her little finger, and she knows it. Rhett, not so much. I mean, she's still got his stomach tied in knots a little bit, and she could potentially manipulate him to mess with him enough, but he's also a lot stronger of a man. He's not as whipped as the other guys. And he's like, that's another thing about, like, there's the thing about Ashley. You see, Ashley is a lot like Melanie in that he tries to see the good in Scarlett. And Rhett does not see that. He sees the ugly, but he still is totally in love with her. And Ashley loves Scarlett too, but she is very, but again, she's just very selfish. She knows that she's beautiful, and she will flirt with all these men, and she knows that she can get them to fall in love with her really easily. partly because of the fact that she is so vain and beautiful. And I love who they cast as Scarlett, in the movie. Okay, so again, she's not considerate of others' feelings. Like I said, she doesn't consider Melanie or Ashley's feelings about her and how they really care about her and they love her very much. And they try, and how, as I've said multiple times, as I've said before, they try to see the good in her, and she totally takes that for granted. It's just to take. She also takes Rhett's love for her, and that and that he wants a child with her for granted too. She does not, and I feel like she doesn't fully learn her lessons until book 2. I mean, she starts to learn them by the end of book 1, but I think in the sequel, Scarlett, I think that's when she really starts to learn her lessons and starts to see the wrong she's doing, and so tries to become a better person. And she's not considering Rhett's feelings. Like, he's in love with her and he will do anything for her, but she doesn't. I mean, I think the only true love she ever really had was the love for her first daughter, and then the love that she has for. In the sequel, she also has a daughter. Spoiler alert. And it's Rhett's child, just like in the first child that died in the first book. Sorry, spoiler. I mean, this is a pretty old book, so I'm sure most of you have read it by now. And the last thing is that she has this rebellious streak. She is very rebellious. I mean, in this time period, in the 1800s, during the Civil War, women had to be obedient housewives. They had to look perfect and pretty and make babies and find husbands and everything. And Scarlett, yeah, she goes husband hunting, but that's not for the same reasons other women do. She knows who she loves. In most of the book, it's Ashley, but then by the end of the book, she does fall in love with Rhett. She has fallen in love with Rhett. But she's a very modern woman. Like, she's very frustrated about wearing black when Charles dies in the war. I mean, it's the Civil War, so someone's gonna, Charles is not gonna, he'll probably die. So, she refused to wear black. And there are a lot of things that people talk about her. Like, there's one scene where her and Ashley are caught in a compromising position. And this is, like, but at this point, she's no longer head over heels in love with Ashley. I mean, she still loves him, but she's starting to fall out of love with him. She's starting to realize that she's not in love with him. But, unfortunately, it's too late, and it looks really bad when she, the two of them, I think he shows up at the store, and they are caught embracing by Melanie's, I think, her mother and cousin or sister-in-law or someone. Some family members catch them embracing, and Rhett, of course, is willing to believe the worst. And he's all like, and he might actually be like, I know you guys weren't doing anything, but you know what? It looked bad either way, so screw you, bitch. Kind of attitude. And he's like, and he tells Scarlett she deserves to be humiliated in front of him. So there's a party that night where everybody's there, and he makes her wear this really bright red dress that makes her look like a harlot, and show up and talk to Melanie and confront Melanie, because Melanie, of course, he's like, because he wants Scarlett to feel guilty because he is pissed off at her, and for all the things that she's done and how she treats him, he's really pissed at her. And I think this is right before the scene when he's all drunk and stuff and threatens, and he's all like, I can break your head. I can break your neck and squeeze your head if I wanted to. Because he's really strong. He could physically hurt her. And he's like, she comes home and he forces her to sit down so they can talk. And he's threatening her, and she's pissed off. She's scared, but she's also pretty angry at him. So I think that scene is right after the scene at the party, when she goes to the party. And of course, Melanie, he knows that Melanie's probably heard all this because rumors spread fast. And he's expecting I mean, he knows that Melanie probably wouldn't believe him anyway, but he wants Scarlett to feel horribly guilty about this. So he's like rubbing in her face. He's like, "You're so lucky." And I think this is the moment when he points out to Scarlett that she's very lucky that she has a friend like Melanie, because Melanie will love her no matter what, and she would never believe the worst of Scarlett. She would never believe that Scarlett and Ashley would do something, betray her like that. Sorry, I'm talking too much. My mouth is all, my throat is being tickled. And Melanie, so he's like, and I think this is the moment when he's all like, "You're very lucky, you got Melanie as a friend." And of course, when she goes, and Melanie, was ready, goes up to her and starts talking to her like she normally would. And she's like, I think she had told her that, "Oh, I've heard some horrible rumors about you and Ashley. I know you would never do that to me." And I think that's kind of the moment when she starts to, like, realize that Ren is right, that she has a pretty good friend in Melanie. Okay, so those are all the things about Scarlett O'Hara. I love her character. I know she's a horrible character, but she is so interesting to read about. The character is so entertaining, so fascinating to read about and to learn, to understand her way of thinking. But truth, I do like, I know I don't always like, I don't like the character Faith on Buffy. I can't stand her. But although I like her as the story goes on, but I do like characters. I was just thinking about this because lately I've been reading and watching stuff that talks about female characters, how they're treated in fiction. And, Scarlett, and Scarlett is one of those and it's how, like, the idea of how we treat, like, we worship male characters, even if they are horrible, monstrous human beings, even if they're assholes, we still will love them. And how it's a double standard when it comes to women. Like, if a woman is a bitchy character, then we will just dismiss her, or we'll hate on her. I don't hate on female characters that are boring or bitchy. I mean, yes, I don't like all of them. Like, I don't like Faith or anything, but I got defensive while reading the articles about that because they included the Beast from Beauty and the Beast as one of those guys. And I see their point, I get it, but, Beauty and the Beast is a special fairy tale, and it has a special place in my heart. It's very important to me, so I get a little defensive when it comes to Beauty and the Beast. I feel very protective of that story. Especially when people constantly accuse that story of being Stockholm Syndrome related, which there was no manipulation. The Beast did not manipulate her at all. That's how Stockholm Syndrome works. The guy puts the woman in the prison, in, like, her little cell or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I think it could probably happen with a guy being trapped by a woman, but the guy imprisons the woman. Yes, that happened. Belle was a prisoner. But the Beast did not manipulate her. Okay, no, he did not. Yes, he came up to her, and not in the animated movie, he invited her to dinner, but, in this live action, because of that whole common misconception, they had Belle say a line when he, in this new live action one that came out earlier this year, when the Beast is, like, inviting her to dinner and everything, she's like, "Are you insane? You kidnapped me. I am your prisoner, and you are now expecting me to go to dinner with you? Are you insane?" So I think that's because of the whole common misconception, people constantly accusing Beauty and the Beast storyline of being Stockholm Syndrome. But like I say, the Beast did not manipulate her. Belle has her own mind. She's a strong woman. She is still herself. Yeah, she falls in love with the Beast, who, he imprisoned her and everything. But she falls in love with the Beast of her own accord. There was no manipulation. If you really watch the movie and really pay attention, there's no manipulation on the Beast's part. Okay, he is, yes, he is grateful to her when she, they start to fall in love and everything, but of her own choosing. Stockholm Syndrome is not about the woman choosing herself. She is too afraid. That's why she ends up choosing the guy and staying with him, because she's afraid, because that's how they do. And no, the Beast, yes, he was a big scary monster and a beast and everything, but Belle stands up to him, even when he screams at her and yells at her and threatens her. She stands up to him. And, is like, you need to cool your temper down and everything, and all that stuff. But it's not Stockholm Syndrome. But I am very passionate about that. So that's off topic. That's all it's about. It has nothing to do with Scarlett O'Hara, a Gone with the Wind. That's just something that's been on my mind for a long time. But that does link to, like, we were talking about female characters and how we make excuses for male characters who are assholes, but not for female characters. And I realize there are female characters that are horrible human beings, that are bitches that I love reading about, like Scarlett. I mean, I might not like them right away, or I might, be judgmental of them. And, when I'm reading the book, I'm like, that kind of thing. But but some of them I do. Scarlett is one of my favorite characters, basically. So that is my discussion video on Scarlett O'Hara and why I love this character. Both the good and the bad. Both the positive and the negative traits. Because it's just so interesting to read about someone, because she is a full person. She's not a one-dimensional female character. She is not a walking cliche. I feel like she is a very complex human being who is selfish and vain and manipulative, and she's rebellious. She's not considerate of others all the time, but she's an aggressive, independent woman, knows what she wants. She has an eye for business. She's a hard worker. She's very modern, and she's very passionate. When she does love a man, when she chooses the man that she loves, that she truly loves, when she's with someone that she's truly in love with, then she will be, I feel like she could potentially be a good wife. I mean, she might be very stubborn and not the most perfect woman, but she's still a good woman. And Rhett loves her for all of that. I mean, the only reason he stops loving her for that period of time is because of that betrayal. Like, he finally gets fed up with her stringing him along and her being caught with Ashley in that compromising position. I think he just gets fed up. But he falls in love with her all over again when she earns it in the sequel, Scarlett, which I definitely recommend. Okay, so like I said, that is my video on Scarlett O'Hara. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and and I don't know who I'm going to discuss in the next one. Maybe I will do another female character from a TV show. I don't know. But, I hope you like these. Let me know if you like these videos in the comments. And if you want to see me do more. I mean, I will probably still continue to do more because I like making these videos and I like talking about these characters, especially when I have a lot to say and I'm not struggling with coming up with what I want to talk about. This was one of the characters that I was able to talk a lot about, I feel like. Like, I knew what I wanted to say, obviously. So, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys later. Bye!